Hello everyone, Barb here from barbaderhold.closetomyheart.com. One of the new products that has made an appearance in our catalog is the Distress Oxides. Let's see if I can find where they are in my catalog here. This is our new September 2020 through August of 2021 catalog. And let's see, I have it under mixed media. Yep, that's where it is. They are right down here. So this would be, I've got it dog-eared. That means I really like the stuff here. Page 80 in our new catalog, our new core year-long catalog. So we have a bunch of the different colors. I must admit, I already had some Distress Oxides in my crafting stash because I love the properties of them. When you blend with them and then add some water, it leaves a bit of a white, chalky finish. And you can see here the pad. And it's nice. We also do carry the ink blending tools, and true confessions here, this is my favorite ink blending tool out there. I'm not much of a dauber on my finger. I don't like putting those things on my fingers. If you love it, no problem, go ahead and do that. But I really love these. I find that I get a better blend even with our traditional ink pads, the dye ink pads. The color I'm going to try using today is called Distress Oxide Black Soot. And I have got a piece of watercolor paper here. This isn't what we're carrying new in the catalog. This is what I had in my stash. I'm going to do a little pounce off and just start blending. It's not black per se. I would say it's a really pretty dark gray. And the watercolor paper that I'm using has texture to it. So I go in a couple of different directions. And you'll notice I'm mostly starting off the paper and working my way onto the paper. If you just go directly to the paper, you'll get that round blotchiness, and then you have to work to get rid of that. Whereas if you start off and blend onto the paper, you don't get those lines. And I just have a scratch piece of paper underneath to protect my work surface. You could use a media mat. You could just use the Versamat that I have down here, but I don't want to wipe it off. I don't want to have to clean that. So that is why I am using this. And you just keep working that color in. And it can vary in intensity. That's part of the beauty of mixed media, is that you do get a lot of variety. I'm grabbing a Post-it note so that I can put my hand on there without getting my fingers into all the ink, so that I can get this last little bit done. And again, you can see there where I did that. Because I'm trying to get a really dark blend, it'll be okay. If I was going for something lighter, probably wouldn't be okay. I would probably be unhappy with it. And you can just look at it, and if you see an area that looks a little light, you can come back in and you can add more color. I'll pick it up and show it to you. And there's a little bit of blotchiness to it, but that's part of mixed media. I did not spend a ton of time working. You can really work the ink and get a nice smooth color, but I didn't do that. Now I'm going to take, this is a Distress sprayer. I've had this in my stash for years. As I said, I've loved Distress inks for a long time, and I'm so excited that Close to My Heart is carrying them. They have sold out, and they've come back, and they've gone, and it can be frustrating. Here I'm just taking a rag. I'm trying to think what this is called. It's supposed to be, oh, I just picked up a lot of the ink. Okay. You can do some dabbing. And what happens is it leaves behind a bit of a white chalkiness. It's really cool. And you get this variation. And if you don't like it, you can add more water. If you don't like it, you can add more ink. You can keep layering and layering and layering. I'm just gently dabbing off the big parts of the water. And I'm going to let that dry. And we'll see what we end up with. Now that this is dried, I found some leftover pieces from a previous video I had done on some ink smooshing. Smooshing, S-M-O-O-S-H-I-N-G, that's how I spell it. And I saved the leftover pieces because I wanted to use them on a card. I had done some white embossing and then did some ink smooshing over the top of the embossing. And of course that embossing resists the color, so you get the pattern showing through the ink smooshing. So I thought it would be kind of cool to glue these down on top of that black soot inked up piece of watercolor paper. While I was in the process of doing this, you can see the sparkliness that I achieve by flicking on some of our shimmer brush. I think this one is clear. You could probably get away with any color shimmer brush that you want on top of the black soot. And I am just going to glue down these little strips. And this is not something that I would be able to do in mass unless I had done a lot of these watercolor smooshing and had a lot of these little strips left. I'm just gluing them down. And then I got out what I think has quickly become one of my favorite new die cuts that we have in our catalog, and that is the Thanks. Who doesn't love that? Oh, look at that. I did the background in charcoal, and then the top part with the letters in our silver foil, and it cuts beautifully. Silver foil is just so forgiving. And I thought that perhaps I would take the time to pop this up. I have some leftovers of the inside of a heart shaker card, and I've showed this before. They take the inside of the adhesive that's left over and they cut it all up into little squares, triangles, however it works, and you can use those as dimension on whatever you want. I will even do a little cutting here, and sticky one, and got some of this on here so that it can look like it kind of looks like it's floating, and I think that's a neat look. You might have to pay a little more for postage when you do something like this. And depending on who it's going to, depends on whether I'm willing to pay the extra postage. Most people that I would bother to send a thank you to are worth the extra couple of pennies that would cost to send a dimensional thank you card. And this one isn't too bad. You might be able to sneak it under the radar. A lot of times it just depends on who's helping you at the post office. I've had some people who are real sticklers with the postage. Other people are a little more forgiving. I think the people that are a little more forgiving are probably people who make cards. So I will throw that on there like that, and that shows up nice and bright. And I love how our charcoal cardstock blends and matches. It matches beautifully with that black soot Distress Oxide ink. Here's a card base I made out of some cardstock from my stash. I am giving it a little extra love with the glue because this is watercolor paper, and I did put some water on it and remove some of the ink and all those things that are fun to do with Distress Oxide inks. I'm going to flip it over, give it a little pressure, and call it good. Look at that. You get a little bit of sparkle on there. There's a little bit of dimension you can see, especially toward the bottom, where I put some water on there and then dabbed it away with my very dirty rag. But I like how that turned out. That's a really beautiful thank you card, and I know exactly who I'm sending it to. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a blessed day. I'll see you next time.